Wolfman was directed by Leigh Whannell and stars Christopher Abbott as Blake, a loving family man with a wife named Charlotte, played by Julia Garner, and a daughter named Ginger. After receiving a letter from the state of Oregon that pronounces his father dead after he had gone missing for years, the family decides to head to Blake's childhood home to clean out the place. But they are attacked by some sort of animal, which causes Blake to begin acting strangely. I thought Whannell's Invisible Man remake / his own interpretation was very good, and I love most of the movies he has written. So if this guy is going to be the one who brings the Universal monsters into the 21st century, I think the universe is in good hands. Christopher Abbott does a good job playing Blake, a nice dad with serious demons about his own upbringing, who doesn't want to do the same thing to his daughter that was done to him when he was a youth. We spend the first 10 to 15 minutes following a childhood Blake hunting with his strict father, who is very militant in his teachings, saying military time and seemingly raises his son with an iron fist. While hunting a deer, they get a view of some kind of monster figure that chases him into a deer bind or a treehouse. At the end of this opening segment, we establish that Blake's father is becoming obsessed with hunting this creature. We then fast forward 30 years to where the real story begins. Between this and Kraven the Hunter, what is up with people hunting in their origin stories? The relationship between father and daughter is the heart of this movie. They have a sweet running thing between them where they pretend to read each other's mind. The mother Charlotte is well played by Julia Garner, but that leads me to one of my biggest issues with this movie. I didn't feel like any of these three characters were ever related to each other. There is no real chemistry here. I don't know if it's the writing or the line delivery, but something about these characters' relationships with each other doesn't feel organic. It feels forced, rehearsed, and phony, especially between husband and wife. They are apparently going to Oregon not only to clean out his childhood home, but also to fix their marriage. But I never believed these two ever really like each other, let alone love each other. Maybe if we'd spent a little more time with them as a passionate but struggling couple, I may have believed it more, but I just don't see it in this movie. I like the physical look of this picture. It has great lighting, mood, and setting up sequences that are tense and fun to follow. There's an accident involving a U-Haul that kicks off the whole wolf stuff. They meet a sort of childhood friend of Blake, I think, who helps give them directions to his father's house. Since he is our only connection to a world outside of this family once they get to Oregon, it helps to establish the isolations our characters are feeling. But once the initial attack comes, he falls out of the story, literally, and we're left wondering what the point of all that was. Here's actually my biggest issue with this movie besides the lack of chemistry. I don't know how Blake got infected. The only interaction you see him have with the Wolfman prior to his transformation starting is when they're hanging off of a cliff with the U-Haul. But from the way the movie shoots the incident, it just looks like Blake closes the door and the wolf breaks the window and seemingly goes away long enough for our heroes to get away. How did he get infected? We don't see him get bitten or anything. The film doesn't do a good job of establishing it. I am also not a fan of this movie not establishing any of the rules for the Wolfman, except for a brief snippet showing us how he sees things now that he is transformed. Once the transformation process begins for our main character, it is long and languid, but I don't mind how drawn out it is because it seems like they're going for some kind of melding between the original Wolfman and David Cronenberg's The Fly. However, I fear this version of Wolfman doesn't have the kind of pathos The Fly did. In both movies, we see our character falling apart and becoming a cosmic entity. But in The Fly, we believe that guy's internal struggle as well as his growing love for the Gina Davis character. Since Wolfman already establishes our character as a family man, we don't get any insight into how either character feels about a reality that they don't understand, but they clearly know is going to change everything in their lives. I just miss the insight that The Fly had. Also, there really isn't much of a payoff between the monster chasing them except for a slight resolution that you can see coming from a mile away. I like that the movie shows the abilities he's gaining and which ones he's losing. We see a perspective change back and forth between husband and wife where they can't understand each other through speaking, and you can see this interesting new lighting that shows us how Blake can now see. This is a really good idea, and I wish they had ran with it more besides establishing it and then not really revisiting it until the last act, which boils down to the same old chase scenes we've seen hundreds of times before. I think Wolfman is one of those movies where for every good idea it has one bad idea and one poor execution that doesn't allow the good idea to feel fully realized. I think the look of the movie is great and the atmosphere is nicely done, but the script and the lack of chemistry between husband and wife sink this movie for me. I can't recommend this movie, but if you go in and see it, temper down your expectations a little and go in only wanting to see some cool effects of someone transforming and some nice tense-filled chases. Then you may enjoy this, but if you're looking for a heart and soul story about a man turning into a monster, this probably won't land for you. The movie is fine, but after the Invisible Man remake, this left me feeling disappointed. I still have faith in Whannell as a writer and a director, and think he will do justice to any idea he has next, but this one I just think is only half-baked at best. I give Wolfman 2.5 stars out of 4. Okay, so Wolfman, have you seen it? What did you think of it? I may have also had my spirits a little down because I saw this movie an hour after I had learned of the passing of the one and only David Lynch, so that may have hampered my ability to enjoy it more. But anyway, if you like this, please like and subscribe. Here's links to some of my other videos. Follow me on social media if you like. And until next time, I am Ghost.